Good morning, everyone. Hello.
Good morning.
Welcome to the 100th. I'm only joking. Welcome to about the 10th Black History lesson. So we're just going to have a recap. The last civilization or kingdom we've done was Axiom. We're continuing with Axiom. So I'm just going through some questions as a refresher from last week. So, what two countries of Africa made up the kingdom of Axiom? Anyone know that?
Is it the last one? That was it.
Yes!
Yeah, that's right.
Excellent. What two civilizations influenced the development of Axiom? No. One starts with a P, one starts with a D. The land of Punt and Damat, DMT. What was the name of the people that came from modern day Yemen and mixed with the locals, influencing the culture of the land of Punt? Starts with an S. Sabaeans, yeah, the Sabaeans, yeah, they come from Yemen and mixed with the locals in Ethiopia. What did the land of Punt mean in Egyptian?
Land of the gods?
Yeah, the land of the gods. The Sabaeans shared ideas with locals regarding what? What they come and teach them a bit about?
Was it trade?
No, irrigation and cattle herding, cattle stuff. What was the name of the port where a lot of trade took place? And where was that port located? That teaching's gone downhill.
No.
Adul or Adulis. Yeah, that was a port that was on what sea?
The Red Sea?
Yeah, it was on the Red Sea. The port of Adulis was located there. Where was DMT located and where was the land of Punt located?
Punt was Australia, right?
Yeah.
Ethiopia. Yeah.
To facilitate their trade, what did the Axiomites produce? They produced, yes, money. There was gold, silver and copper coins. So, that's what we looked at last week. We discussed that, the process, and then we know that. Now we're moving on to the great kingdom of Axiom and a guy called Zoskel. So, the first recorded king of Axiom was named Za-Hakala. However, he was formerly known by the name Zoskel. Some people say that differently. If you watch Zainab Badawi's documentary on Axiom, she says it a bit differently. So, emerging as king of Axiom around 50 to 100 AD. I put that 50 to 100 because Robin Walker says 50 and Zainab Badawi says 100. So you know the dates aren't always in sync. Zoskel was the first king to take the title. What was the title given to a king in Ethiopia? I thought you knew it.
Well, I was about to say, two things come to mind. Obviously, what do they call it? Is it Ras? Or there's another one where they say Negus.
Negus Nagas.
That's it.
Yeah? What does that mean? Anyone? King of Kings. Yeah? So he was the first king to assume that title. Zoskel. Little is known of Zoskel, and there's a lot of that in regards to Axiomite kingship and queenship. There's not a lot known about them. However, within the first century text, the Periplus of the Erythraean Sea stated that these places from the Carthagers to the other Berber country are governed by Zoskels. That's supposed to be miserly in his ways and always striving for more, but otherwise upright and acquainted with Greek literature. So he seemed to be quite a stand-up guy, those scales, that read a bit of Greek. So, we're going on to a few more. The no-name, Gadara and Asba. So, in 150 CE, an Andalusian inscription is written, which paints the picture of a diverse, so we're looking at how Axiom looked like at that point in time. A diverse, multi-ethnic society brought together under common law and order of the Negus Nagas, calling for peace among the nations under his rule and freedom of movement regarding the import and export of goods along the trading routes. So whoever this king was, because their king's unknown that was ruling at that time, he seemed to be a fair guy that created a multi-ethnic society and also wanted no sort of barriers on import and export of trade, so everyone could trade and have a good time with no restrictions. So the affairs between the Axumites and Yemen seem closely linked. In 183 CE, King Gadara was a politically dominant figure in Yemen, as well as his successor and son, who was dominant in this territory until 213 CE. So even from the original emergence of the Sabaeans in Ethiopia and Eritrea, they still kept a relationship going for a very long time, until later on that became a bit strained. Less than a century later, an Axumite king named Asbar sent military forces to Yemen and settled troops there. One of Axumite's most significant kings emerged around 320 CE. His name was King Azana, and he's very well known for a lot of different things, King Azana. Between 335 and 370 CE, Axiom occupied Yemen once again under King Azana. He was quite a strange guy. King Azana was known as a ruthless, brave and powerful king that carried out a number of successful military campaigns. He led campaigns against Kush and peoples of the Lake Tana and the peoples of the desert. But some people and some scholars say that when he crushed Kush in the Meroitic period, they were coming to an end anyway. But they weren't at their full potential when King Azana came and crushed them. Azana seized trade routes linking Egypt and Syria with countries of the Indian Ocean. So that shows you how widely the Axumites were trading. They were going far out and trading with a lot of people. The Straits of Bab el-Mandeb, now under Axumite control, was one of the three main shipping highways in the ancient world. So they were far-reaching, to say the least. Azana did not mess about. He dished out severe punishments to those that opposed him. What do you think Azana also done? He done some other stuff. He was a pagan, but what else do you think he liked to do? He practiced human sacrifice, yeah, so to appease the gods. A fate that befell some unfortunate individuals whom he had conquered in battle. So he didn't give a monkeys about sacrificing some humans, King Azana. Quite a tough king. So, one of Azana's notable achievements was that he proclaimed Axiom a Christian state. The story of how Christianity spread to Ethiopia begins with Phoenician philosopher who sailed to India accompanied by two Syrian boys, Frumentius and Odysseus, on a Greco-Roman ship. So, on a return journey, the ship was attacked and everyone was killed apart from them two. Frumentius and Odysseus, they survived. But what happened, there was some beef going on between these Greco-Roman people and the Ethiopians, because supposedly they're supposed to have disrespected the Ethiopians' hospitality. So when they saw them at any given point in time, they'd roll up on them and something would happen. So that's why. But they were too young. Them two were too. It was only their youth that saved them. They were young boys, so they decided not to kill them. The two boys were taken to King Ella Amida, who saw promise in the boys, and Frumentius became his treasurer and secretary, and Odysseus a cupbearer. I'd be upset if I was Odysseus and got that low-level job compared to my man. So, when King Amida died, the Queen Regent invited Frumentius to help govern the country until Azana was old enough to rule. So Azana was still quite young. Prometheus encouraged the spread of Christianity throughout Ethiopia, so he was quite at the forefront of the spread. Even though Christianity was there before, it became part of the state through his influence, and King Azana taking it on board. So, when Azana established control, Prometheus became Ethiopia's first bishop. And if you go online, you can see a couple of paintings with him as the first bishop. So, Caleb. So it's quite interesting when you look into Axiomite history, some of these kings, especially when we get to Queen Yodit, which we won't do this week, with Safer and King Lalibela, the stories that go behind them are mad. So even with Caleb, when you go deep into his story, in the end there's two stories. He's either supposed to have given up his throne and then stayed in the monastery, and some other people say he ruled for another 17 years, etc., etc. But they've got these deep stories going on. So Caleb defeated the Jews in southern Arabia who were engaged in clashes with Christians, which resulted in a massacre of a number of Christians. In 600s, Islam emerged as a new monotheistic religion. Some Islamic followers fled persecution in Mecca and were welcomed by King Amar of Axiom. The place where they first arrived and prayed, in Massawa, modern Eritrea, has a plaque claiming it to be the first Muslim shrine in the world. So you know that when it comes to Ethiopia generally and that part of the land, that whether it was Islam, Christianity or Judaism in the end, those three religions stood quite firmly in Ethiopia. But we'll see about the Jewish part later on next week. From around the 7th century, invasion and conflict destabilised Axiom, affecting its infrastructure, so its complex administrative structure started disintegrating. Also, money started going, so they couldn't pay their armies the money that they were used to before, so things started to collapse. The Arabs finally crushed the Axiomite army and destroyed the port of Adulis. The Axiomites relocated and built a new port in Massawa. Right, so that's all we're going to do because I'm mindful. We're going to go back to a bit of Axiom last week because I'm mindful that some of those questions I asked at the start, no one really knew what was going on. So, we might have looked. So, like I said about Queen Yodit, we're going to have a look at her. In the Kebra Nagast, a book that's an Ethiopian epic, really, talking about the notable kings, queens, and the history. They say that she destroyed Axiom. So we'll go into a bit of that next week. King Lalibela, I love this guy. I think some people have seen the 11 Lalibela churches that he built supposedly from hand. If you see there's one that's in the ground, made of stone, it's like a big cross in the ground. It's amazing, but he's supposed to have got some enlightenment and then went out there and done these 11 churches. I think his wife finished off a few. But even the relationship between him and his brother was pretty strained. And he went off to the desert one time because his brother wanted to kill him. He tried to poison him. I think the dog drank the poison, the dog died. He went into the desert, came back. The brother still wanted to kill him. He went off again, he married, come back. The brother had an epiphany and then handed over the kingship to him. And then later on he had these visions or whatever, and then he went out there and started building these churches. And then we'll look at the end of the Axiomite era. So, some questions on that little bit that we've done today, because I think sometimes I'm filling you with too much information in 1 week to actually be able to hold it. Who was those scouts? Who was those scouts?
They got the foggiest.
Need to refresh your memory.
That's what I'm saying. I remember you saying it was on that. Huh?
He was the first king of Axiom. Yeah, he came around in 50 AD or 50 CE to 100 CE. What is known of those scales? Remember the Paraplus of Arinthi, I can't even pronounce it today. That Greek literature said a little bit about him. He was a bit miserable and he knew a bit about Greek literature. What title did you have as an Axiomite king? What was that title you got?
King of Kings.
Yeah, and what was it in Ethiopian? What do they call it?
Negus Nagas.
Yes, Negus Nagas. In 150 CE, an Adulis inscription describes Axiom to be what? Sorry, that's really bad. Where's the P? Inscription. Yeah, what was the inscription saying? What did it say about how Axiom was around that time, around 150 CE? Colin, I love that. Look, Colin.
What's in my head, man?
I changed
It was diverse and multicultural place, and that king at that time that was unknown wanted free trade and import and export and free movement along trading routes. What territory were Axiomite kings closely linked to? What other area of the world were they really linked to? For a long time as well, from when the Sabaeans had come from there.
Indian Ocean.
No, but they traded along the Indian Ocean.
Yemen?
Yemen,
Yeah.
yeah, so they were closely linked to Yemen. Who was Azana? What was he like? And what were some of his achievements?
He was a hard king for what we saw there, and he sacrificed people. He brought about, brought about the correct word, but he established Christianity in the, would you say that, the empire? Oh no, the
Yeah.
government or empire,
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
it was. He was military leader. as well.
And done some good campaigns and crushed a few people. How did Christianity come to Axiom? What's the story of how Christianity came to Axiom? I really hope you get this one. Remember the two boys, Frumentius and Odysseus? What happened to them? What was the two Syrian boys with who?
One was a cupbearer, the other one was a treasurer.
Yeah, where did they come from? What had happened?
Their thing had been killed. Their people around them.
Yeah, what were they on? Where were they coming from? So they were on a boat with a philosopher, Phoenician philosopher. There were two Syrian boys. They went somewhere on a little trip on this Greco-Roman ship, and on the way back,
They got captured.
they got captured.
Everyone got killed apart from them.
Yeah.
Because they were too young.
Yes. And then what happened next?
And then the guy saw some promise in him.
Yes.
Yes.
King Elamida saw some promises on his dad, and then he made them,
Treasurer and a cupbearer.
yeah,
And then the treasurer went on to do greater things, I think, and he helped establish, what was it, he helped to establish Christianity.
yeah. So he had a word, it seemed like he had a word in Zana's ear, and Zana took it on board when he saw how much he loved that. So, what did King Caleb achieve? What did he do? What had happened? What was going on in Mecca?
So the introduction of Islam.
Introduction of Islam, that's right. So there was some Islamic followers getting persecuted, so they came down to Axiom, and my man invited them in and helped introduce Islam to Axiom. And that was it, those persecuted ones. What happened in the 7th century in Axiom? What happened in the 7th century? Even though their history isn't over yet, what started happening then? some serious conflicts started going on, and then the infrastructure was starting to get eroded. So the administrative infrastructure started getting, the complex administrative infrastructure started going downhill, and also they couldn't pay their armies, so Axiom was on its last legs a little bit, it seemed like, at that time. So, that was that. We'll go through those questions next week, hopefully they might get remembered. So, our discussion usually will always be about current events, and also spiral off today in regards to black inferiority. And we're going to look at a number of questions and see what our points of view are about these questions. That could be maybe profoundly thought-provoking, maybe. So, date, May 28th, 2023. Anyone know that date for any reason? No, not much people would, because it's not really relevant to us over here. So, Express March Shell Station in Columbia, South Carolina, something went down.
Oh, is it the George Floyd?
No, that was 2020, May.
Oh,
Right, allegation, Chow falsely suspected karmic Belton of shoplifting 4 bottles of water.
oh.
Yeah.
This is the one where he got let off.
Yes, that's right. So, surveillance footage later confirmed the teenager put the bottles back and did not steal anything. Chow and his son pursued the teenager for more than 130 yards outside the property, outside the shop, shooting Carmack. Shot him once in the lower right back. Richland County Coroner Nadia Rutherford confirmed the wound trajectory was consistent with someone crouching to get up from a fall while running away. So obviously he must have fallen down and then got shot on the way up. So this is what happened. The store owner acquitted in a fatal shooting of the black teen. So that's the usual sort of occurrence in America. You know, whether it's the police or whether it's bystander situations, just like Michael Brown, Sandra Bland, all of the people that, Sean Bell, all the people that got killed in America usually get off, and the police don't see it on. They might get a little suspension for a week, it seems like, but then they're back reinstated. So, what's going on as a consequence of this? What's happening now?
They're boycotting all the Asian stores finally.
Yes. So, they're boycotting Asian stores. I'm wondering how you feel about that. I mean, there's a lot of talk about, and I'm wondering how you feel about that. And there was a rant, I think about a year ago, by a black woman that was sort of becoming a high celebrity, high profile person on Insta. She used to talk quite rough, talk about inequalities, but then one day she started talking about how Indian people over here have got more financial backing from the government, and then she started cussing Asian businesses, and then she said that all black people should boycott Asian businesses, and then there was uproar even from black people saying, what are we talking about? Like, why are we going to boycott Asian businesses? So, you know, there's a distinct disparity in the way that, even though nothing had really happened, no Asian person had killed any black young person or anything like that, but her outcry was met with a lot of resistance from a lot of different people, and you don't really see her on social media anymore. This black woman, I don't know.
Elaine Payne.
Elaine Payne. Was that her name?
Yeah.
Quite, you're not young, must be in her 40s.
Yeah. Elaine Payne, what it is, she started the boycott Asian shops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no one run with it.
Nah. I know. As you said, it was controversial.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
So,
she's still around, yeah.
Yeah.
She's coming back. She's more
quiet,
more
reserved.
She's bringing up things. I think she should calm down a bit, but she's still bringing up.
Okay, because I don't see her no more.
No,
But,
she is. If you watch Bouncer,
yeah.
Bouncer talks about stuff that Elaine. Do
Okay.
you know Bouncer?
No.
Oh, okay. Do you know Bouncer?
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he lives in Dubai, and
Okay.
he's like, he talks about things that are happening kind of across the world and the UK particularly.
So should the Americans boycott all Asian businesses?
You mean the black American?
Yeah.
I think yes. I'll tell you why, because a lot of the time people don't take you seriously, and sometimes talk ain't gonna make a statement. But I know that once you withdraw your money from any establishment, it's so harder because money equals food, but in mouth equals light. You know, they will feel the effects of the money being taken away, and they'll be taken seriously. It's just like, let's say like Tesco done something and we approve of it. If everybody boycotted Tesco, I guarantee Tesco would want to kind of come, let's sit down, let's talk, because they need the money.
Mm. Yes, Jill.
Yeah, but the only thing with that though is, what about white people who shoot black people all the time who have shops?
Yeah.
And you know, when you were talking about Tesco, remember when Walmart removed, was it EDI or something?
Yeah.
Or whatever?
Yeah, that's right.
And they were trying to boycott Walmart, but you know, people still go back to Walmart and buy the things. It happens all the time. I think with this particular issue, they want us fighting with each other, but really and truly, fundamentally, I think black people, because they're so caught up in consumerism, it's like a drug, and they just can't kind of just stop and say no, and they can't like funnel their money into things that are more that can create generational wealth. They're just happy to spend out their money every which way. Personally, I think black people just need to change their outlook on things. Because there was slight aside, but it is connected. I think it was, I don't know if it was the 60s or 70s, but there was a almost, it wasn't a show, but it was a recording of a guy in a store explaining kind of how you get black people to buy things in your store. And the way you get black people to buy things in your store is to almost suggest to them that they can't afford it. And you know, they can't take it because it's like, because it kind of dates back to their past and their own feelings of inadequacy, etc., and also how they think people see them. So they want to spend out the money and make it seem like, no, I've got the money to buy whatever. You can't tell me I can't have this, but it was on I watched it on YouTube, and it's like they know their customer base and they're exploiting their customer base, and their customers don't even understand this. They're still in that trap of, it is a form of slavery, but they're still in that trap. But yeah, personally, I just think they should stop shopping.
Yeah, I feel that there's a double standard. Definitely. How are you going to experience systemic institutional racism, overt racism on the street, whether it's in England or America? And like you said, why aren't you boycotting white establishments? Yeah. I also understand the divide and rule is always in effect with the colonial mechanism. So to have the Asians and the blacks at each other's throats always works well for them, rather than them becoming a unified force. So it can become quite a complex situation in regards to thinking about it, I think. But I think sometimes when it comes to understanding the power of capitalism and the trauma that we've experienced being deprived and impoverished for so long, and understanding that when it comes to marketing and advertising, they use dream analysts, psychologists, and all kinds of different people at the top end that work in association with the understanding of our psychological misgivings. Yeah, so they can promote things in a certain way. And know we're hungry. We've been hungry for a long time. Yeah, and whether you can see it as transgenerational trauma or just our adaptation to the environment mixed with that trauma. There's something in black people that even with back in the day more so, I used to be broke as shit. When I had money, I had gold. Mad gold, innit, Jill? Like, mad gold. When I was broke, I still had mad gold. Because I had a look. I had a look, you know, my 7-out chap chain, my 7-out chain, my Cartier watch, my big diamond ring, like looking like an idiot. But even when I had no money, I still had them jewels to promote an image. Yeah, that was a thing. You know, whether you want to see that we had gold from back in ancient times. There was a time when we went through a serious level of impoverished living, where coming out of it, we need to be recognised. It serves as part of our identity and part of our self-esteem. You know what I mean? So it's hard work for black people, for me, for my outlook, to actually have the insight to understand, all right, this is happening to us. We've come from there, and we need to break this chain where people have got us locked in the slave just through consumerism. So, but you know, I understand, just like the Watts riots, the Rodney King riots, the George Floyd riots, and the boycotting, that we haven't got, like when I've talked to you when we come in, how you can create a hub here to create that unity and replicate what happened back in the day. Because where's the boycotting here? The Bristol bus boycott happened back in the day. Stevenson, I can't remember his name. Jocelyn Barrow in the 1960s, 1970s, when she worked in Oxford Street, and black people weren't allowed to touch the clothes or some shit like that. So she set up a boycott on Oxford Street shops. So there were real advocates for change that had this mentality that would boycott shit back in the day. But nowadays over here we're so pacified and so under the thumb by the laws and rules and the not wanting to rock the boat. Like I said earlier, when you see the anti-racist demonstrations against the far right, there's hardly any black people in the crowd. So black people aren't even stepping up for their own cause over here. So there's a real psychological pacification that's happened for me, for black people in this country, where they're not willing to stand up for anything.
Okay, so
And like Neville said, if we could create a situation, and I forgot where I was going with this, where there was something you said where we can get together and start working together. Let me forget that. There was something I was going to say and I lost it. Go on, Jill. I don't know, I lost it. It was that Jonesy singing last night and messed me up. Go on.
Right, so I think I'm trying to think how many marches I've been on, and I don't think I've been on that many, if any at all. I might have done like 1 or 2-ish, but not really. And in terms of boycotting, I think as a standard I boycott a lot of things, but that's a different kind of mindset. But a lot of these things aren't like, they don't go on very long. People lose interest.
Yeah.
You know, like it starts all hot and sweaty and then
Fades out quite quick.
fades out, and I just don't think it's kind of sustainable, you know. And I don't know if it's also linked to, you remember before years ago trade unions were big and people used to band together in their particular trade unions, and then you notice it got destroyed by Thatcher.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was the beginning of the end.
Yeah, and it's like there's no support. You have to have an infrastructure that if a boycott goes on for an extended period of time,
People
everyone,
can still eat.
yeah, but it's the financial support is facilitated by everyone that's involved in the boycott.
But this is a joke, right? Like, it doesn't take a lot to eat, right? But because people have their particular requirements, it seems like there's a lot, if that makes sense. Like, you can eat real simply for not very much food.
Yeah.
I mean for not very much money, but you don't have the mindset to do that. So you still want to maintain the level that you're at. You're not kind of saying, you know what, all right, we're on a boycott, so we might spend normally £200 a week on food. We're going to cut that to £40, and we're going to have basic. No one wants to do that.
It's the luxuries. People love luxuries nowadays.
They do.
So let's see if because, and this is what they will say about boycotting. You have the power to do things in masses, innit? So as a mass, we could shut down so many different things just by boycotting for a month, 2 months, 3 months. If a significant group of people decided, all right, we're not going to buy petrol and we're not going to drive our cars for 2 months, yeah, what's going to happen to those petrol companies?
Just to add on to that, yeah, I can't remember if it's American or if it involves British, but they do say that the African community, the black African community, spends the most. Like we spend something like in the trillions. You know, we have to have the Jordans, we have to have this, we have to. So clearly we've got money within our sector. It's where we're putting the money to.
Yeah.
But this is what I'm saying, you know. I think people, it's like what I said in the last discussion. A lot of black people are not willing to do the work. A lot of people feel that they're free. We're not slaves no more. I can buy a Mercedes, I can do something. Yeah, I'm living the life, I'm doing the thing. They're trying to not see that. Even when you go through what's going on there, how can you see that the boy didn't take the bottle of water? You chased him a certain amount of yards, and it says that you shot him in his back. It's consistent with someone crouching up to get away from a fall. So clearly he was down, and you just shot him, and he's got away with it. Without asking any questions, you just know what the temperature is. You know how they think and feel about you. So then when you go back to the black community now, what are you doing about it? You're still going to these places and giving them money and funding these people, and all you need to do, because look, how many times a day you have online black-based communities or places to buy things and sell things? Things are there for you to put that $1 trillion back into your community.
Yeah, that's right.
But you choose otherwise. So that's why, as I see it, we're just victims of our own torture. You can't have this information, have the collateral, and still be throwing it elsewhere and not putting it back into yourself. Last thing I'll say, when you've got people like, look at someone like Garvey, there was no internet, there was no Facebook, there was no nothing. But he had 1 million strong people ready to move and do what he had to say. There wasn't all of this traffic coming in your brain about YouTube, all of this nonsense to be a part of, all of this, you know, what gender am I, what this am I, that you knew that you was black and you was going under pressure.
Yeah.
Right? And you wanted to make a change. So that's why he had a load of people coming together under one accord for the change. Now everybody, we're separate.
Yeah.
You know, divide and rule. That's all it is. They create all of these things within the black community and put you in all of these pockets and facets, and then now you're trying to figure out who you are, what's going on. And these people are doing what they're doing and just laughing, getting the money, you know. Because if you put that in any other community, Jewish, Chinese, whatever, something like that traumatic happens, I guarantee you there'll be a different outcome. They'll move different, they'll demand different things.
The thing is, I don't like in regards to, you know, you could ostracize the whole Asian community in regards to this, but I hate having a colonial hat on. I'm not going to see a certain person from a certain community do one thing and then me start saying all Asians are like that, all blacks are like that.
Of course not.
Or you know what I mean? So for me, even thinking about how I'm judging people is based on a part of that colonial thinking where you start seeing one person is like the racist, the far right. One black person does something, all black people are like that. All immigrants are like that, or whatever. So even in regards to this situation, even though I was feeling good, boycott them, yeah. There's Asian people just like there's white Europeans out there that are nicer than some of your own black people towards you. You know what I mean? So
there was one thing, so I know you're trying to jump in. I just want to sprinkle this one thing. There was Muhammad Ali was in that. Who was it? Was he being interviewed by Parkinson? I can't remember, but he said, "I need to get my house in order before I come outside and do anything outside." So that's what it is. It's not me saying anything about anybody because I'm reflecting on myself. It's just like when I look at anything to do with anything in life, I always look at me. What am I doing? So the house needs to be in order first before we can do anything outside the house. And right now, the black community, to me, is in shambles. Like, with things going on like this, you're supposed to come within the house, get things organised. What are we going to do? And move accordingly. There's no hate towards no one or nothing. We just know that we're just on a certain path to let people know that this is not acceptable.
And like Jill said, that'll fade out. Go on, Jill.
Okay, so, right. So the way I see this situation is, the role of this shop owner Chinese?
Yeah.
Right.
Korean, man. Korean.
Everybody Korean.
Is he Korean? Well, it doesn't really matter because ultimately it will be seen like he's part of China and it's the China, right?
Mhm.
So I'm going to just to the China. China is working within a lot of the black countries, putting in infrastructure in those countries. The West doesn't like China doing that because China's building building relationships within the Caribbean, they're building relationships in Africa, and they're doing a lot more than France, England, Belgium, those countries have done in Africa or the Caribbean. The West doesn't want China to have good relations with black people, and this sort of situation is wonderful because what it does is it says to black people, just like what Kevin says, you've got one person who's done something, you've got one person who's made a mistake. People make mistakes all the time, right? And usually they don't kind of get away with it, right? The reason he's got away with it is because it serves the machine to pit Asian people against black people, because a lot of black people won't understand kind of what's going on, and a lot of black people, like in terms of the boycotting, so I feel that black people spend too much money in places that they shouldn't. So you've got, he's Korean, but you've got lots of stores, the nail shops, the hair shops, the whatever, the Chinese shops for the takeout, etc., etc. And black people pouring their money in. And it's like, well, you know, you really shouldn't. You know, you shouldn't be getting your nails done every 2 weeks. It's like a waste of money, and you're feeding that community. You're not feeding your own community. You're not even feeding your own household, because more time that's a waste. You're wasting money that should be invested in your household. You know what I mean? So in terms of the boycotting, I like the idea of black people not spending money, but more time they're probably gonna spend it somewhere else. Like they're not thinking. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how I see this whole situation. Like, it's one person who's made a mistake. It's not the whole of the Asian community. And actually, let's not forget that the Asian community are doing things with black countries to help them. And people can sit there and say, oh no, but they're going to end up owning, you know, the bridges in Jamaica and whatever. Well, they might do, but more time, that's the poor negotiation of the Jamaican politicians, right? You know what I mean? Like, but anyway, there's so many issues. But ultimately, I just think like it's the many facets to this particular issue.
What have you going to say, Carl?
It's, but I'm kind of looking at it in a panoramic view, because I'm mixed. I've got Chinese, I've got African Caribbean, and I've got Asian. From the Chinese side, I'm going to tell you straight, they are racist. My grandmother, who is African Caribbean, married a Chinese guy. So my dad was half black and half Chinese. They used to own my grandfather because you might cut them off
Mm.
the business. So we've got to realistic. They're not all, but they're very, and I see how they operate within the family, you know.
Mm.
So what the black community in America is saying, it's not about you made a mistake. You come into our community and invested in it, and you don't put anything back. You don't show any respect to our community, you know. And because of that, it brings that attention
Mm.
to where you then want to boycott, because that's how they look at it, you know. And that is what causes a lot of issues in the way when they go in these shops, how they actually serve or how they greeted, you know what I mean? So it's more than just a mistake.
Mm.
On the Asian side, I saw also a different mentality, but you got to remember the Asian and Chinese, when they came to the Caribbean, they came as indenture.
Mm.
They came as business, trade, okay, with
Slave,
that.
yeah, it's like slave.
Yeah. My grandmother now came from that kidnap in terms from Africa, because she was from Barbados connection. And I saw the way she was being treated. She brought me up.
Mm.
And maybe that's why I have this rebel in me, because I can sit back and see Pomeranic, how the Chinese behave, how the Asian side behave, and I, you know, with my African heritage side, how have to compromise to everyone, you know, in the Caribbean. So I was kind of privileged to have that Pomeratic view in terms, because, you know, we always, and my grandmother always have to explain herself, and because, you know, her husband now left her with 4 kids and go to UK again and left her, you know what I mean? So it was a lot of things. So I see the reason is, yes, we were there. We had a Black Wall Street. Black Wall Street, where it was very collectively black business owned and whatever. And you know what happened to that, yeah? So a lot of, after that, the black community realized, why should we continue, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think there's been a lot more adversity in America, whether it's Black Wall Street, the ripping down of Seneca Village,
Yeah,
the old Central Park where the black people used to live, and then they displaced them and
yeah,
made Central Park. There's loads of places in America where they've displaced black people, where they've had towns, etc., and just ripped it down, looted and killed the black people and then taken over the land. So I think their experience is significantly different to ours, but when it comes to racist fractions in regards to culture, you can't ignore the fact that historically everyone's been made to feel a certain way about black people. So it doesn't matter whether you're Chinese, you're Asian, whatever land you come from, there's always a distinct bitter taste in the mouth about you being black. So I know that holistically, but also I understand that individually, there are people that are nice. You know, I've met a lot of different people that have treated me better than my own black people, and I've been like, right, what's going on here? You know, but let's go on, because there's a few there's a few questions. Do black people have difficulties building strong families?
Yes.
yeah. Some.
Because is it a myth? Is it real? What the ideas and conversations you hear about black families? The dad's not there, the single mum's around, she's quite mad. All these sort of mythical stories about black families. Yeah? Do they have difficulties? Do they have difficulties?
What would you say is strong? How do you
One that
define
stays
strong?
together.
Is that it? Is that the only
Yeah.
definition?
Yeah.
So as long as you, what is that, like the husband and wife, as long as they say
As a nuclear family, that traditional nuclear family. We
But does that-
we don't
that
have to be
define-
specific
I
with the
think-
word strong.
Okay, so I'm going to say, so I think the problem with that is you have situations where a mother and a father stay together, raise the kids and everything, but is that really a strong family because they don't like each other and the kids aren't really thriving in that environment, but because of maybe they don't want people to judge them, they stay together.
Yeah.
And it happens all the time, so is that a strong
Well,
family?
I think that was easier back in the day. I don't think it happens as
It's
much
still
as it used to.
because
So the old school families used to have, because people are a lot more sensitive now. Back in the day, the wife would know that the husband's got family in America or wherever, and they still
Or
have
down
the
the
family.
road.
Yeah, and they travel to the States, see their family. That there's a lot less tolerance to that if it's known. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but old school, my mum's age sort of people, they had enough black families where the man was doing things with someone down the road or had family in America or Canada or back home, and the wife knew about it. And she looked after the kids. He used to go on holiday at the summertime, come back and see his family out there, come back. That really ain't taken on the chin like how it was with those old school generations, you know what I mean? So I think it still happens, but not to the extent that I witnessed it. Yeah, and you're right, you know, strong families, you could have a strong one-parent family or whatever, and you could have a real dysfunctional nuclear family. Do black people reinforce black stereotypes? Are they not stereotypes, and that's how we really are? Are they stereotypes or not? Do black people eat a lot of chicken? Do they always turn up late?
I think that question relates back to the first question because I think, you know, they say art imitates life and life imitates art. I think that's what black people are doing. You know, especially with this social media, everything's out for discussion and all of that. I don't know the standards and the traditions and all of that's kind of gone. We've lost all of that. You know, we picked up other people's traditions and standards and stuff. So I think that's just those stereotypes are reinforced by us because we're just playing out what we see.
Yeah, I think it is linked to the first question. I think it is how you are in your family. So I know I was late today. All right, but
Oh yeah.
but as a child growing
I
up,
forgot that bit.
no. I actually like being really punctual. That is my whole thing.
Yeah.
And I remember like my mum always making sure that we were on time. Like it wasn't acceptable to be late, right? But then you get other families who are like, they don't care. And you're like, but you see, like it's kind of how you see things.
Yeah, I think black people over here were so on point in regards to, let's say from 1948 June, when the Windrush landed. I think they were so on point at adhering to the standards here. You can, like I said, my mum used to go to work 2 hours early. I used to think, why's my mum leaving? She don't start work till 10. She's left at 6. She's got there at 8. She's sitting down there waiting, doing shit in her locker, doing whatever until work starts. Old school kids done that. Yeah, they didn't mess about.
But it's
When
like
it
the indebtedness. You feel indebted to have
indebted,
that
but
job.
under pressure to live up to their expectations and not fall
Very
short
selfish,
of their
yeah.
standards. So they look, you're alright, you're already looked upon as nasty, dirty, blah blah, You can't go to work late. You've got to be a better worker than the person next to you that's not the same colour. But I think there's a laxness now just amongst it's not just young black people, young people in general now are lazy, especially young British people. Is black and beauty within society looked upon as a contradiction?
Definitely, if you look at what the words mean in their language, in the language we speak, I should say, black cake, black ice, black is seen as dangerous, not nice, dirty, whatever, then you've got the word beauty. So those two words really shouldn't go together. Now, obviously, we know better. You know what I mean? We know why we use black, and there's many. For me, black is a powerful thing, so I look at black differently. But I'm saying those two words really shouldn't go together in the English language.
Is it looked upon as a contradiction in black culture?
I think subconsciously, yes.
I think consciously as well. Yeah, consciously we've been primed to look at light skin as being better and dark skin as look as not as good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whether you want to talk about good hair or bad hair,
Yeah.
whatever else you want to talk about. Yeah, we've already been primed within our own culture to look upon each other as like, all right, black. No, we're not giving that a look.
No, it is so true, and like you know, you see it so much. Like in Barbados, it's. I think it's definitely something that figures a lot more in the older generation, but they still got that mentality. Like once you're light skin or white, you're great. Black, just because you're black, you're not beautiful, and they will openly say it. Like if it's all right, you know, but it's awful. Even like I've got a friend of mine here. Her mum is a light, and there was like 9 kids. She was dark. The dad's dark, right? Really dark. She was the youngest of the 9, my friend, and she was the darkest. All the other ones were light. You know, the mum didn't poop on her. You know, the other ones, because they were light skinned, oh my beautiful, and then now the mum's sick and it's the
Dark skin one.
the dark skin one that's looking after her, and suddenly she's the best child ever.
And sometimes people know, and sometimes people don't know they're doing it. Some people know they're discriminating against their own children, and sometimes people don't know they're
But don't forget, that comes from colonialism, because when in the Caribbean, we see like people getting preference treatment in jobs, whatever. So that's where it came from. You know what I mean? We want to be, you know what I mean? That's what happened.
Are black people killing each other?
Well, I was waiting to answer this one. No, because you know what it is. I like the play of what they do when they're talking about black crime. If we're going to be honest, when you're dealing with killings and stuff like that, people tend to kill who's surrounding them. You know, you don't get a person here wants to travel all the way over to the other end of the UK and say, right, I'm going to kill over there. They kill to their surroundings. They react to them. So in each community, you've got blacks killing blacks, whites killing whites, Asians killing Asians, whatever. They're killing people in their own community. So it's a myth to try to make it look like we're out of control and doing all of this stuff. But I will say, blacks are killing blacks because they're killing each other in their own areas. They have beefs, street beefs. They're selling this and that. They're doing this out there. The arguments, the stresses. They take it out on each other.
But is it really just only about physical killing, or is it about spiritual and psychological?
All of the above.
Because look at the level that black people degrade each other on. You know what I mean? It comes instinctual, like it's automatic sometimes for you to meet up with someone. Not so much when you get older, but more so when you're younger, and it can still happen at my age when you meet someone and say, you're blah blah, and like cuss your brethren, you get into a cussing thing. It's like this demeaning, degrading conversation that you have straight off like it's a joke, but really what you're doing to each other when you're doing that. It's like your parents from back in the day, they're cussing no end, over something little in the house. You're affected by that generally, and that affects you throughout your life, the sort of cussing you get for no apparent reason. So is it just a physical sense, a psychological sense as well, that we're sort of killing off the internal positivity that exists in you and making you feel a certain way and developing your identity in a certain way?
It's a lot of reasons behind that. It got economic, because when I was young, and when I had money, I feel good. When I didn't have money, I want to fight and cut. So, you know what I mean? And someone swore at me and I got money and everything. Well, okay, because I feel that, you know what I mean? But when I broke and everything and anyone said anything to me, it's like, I want to fight. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know, that strength, how I used to think, you feel like nothing, you've got no money, I don't know.
But we have got a culture of cussing each other. You know what I mean?
I find it really traumatic. Because that behaviour, I have never subscribed to. I remember being at school and people trying to do that, and I'm not somebody who talks, so I haven't got a response to you apart from a physical response because I can't say anything. So I would just like punch you. But that behaviour, like my ex, he would talk about being at school and how his friends used to do that with, they do that, right? But this was the thing, he said that, imagine years later, they're in their 50s. One of the guys, like, they kind of met up or whatever, and the same guy that used to roast did the same thing to the guy at, like, in their 50s. And you know when you look in someone's face, and all you can see is like all the pain and hurt that they were experiencing from like 12 or something, right through, and it comes right back like if it was yesterday, and you think, you've damaged that person. Like, I mean, anyway. So
Listen, I used to exist, no Johnny, innit? So we used to exist in a zone, we go around there, smoke, play blackjack, me, his nephew Mikkel, some other people. And it used to be blackjack and smoking, and who could cuss someone into submission. That was the thing. We'd be there for hours playing blackjack, cussing each other, the worst cusses, yeah? But it was the norm. It's not until later on that I thought to myself, imagine that. Like, there was a time, they always laugh, because I was quite good at cussing, yeah? There was a time when his nephew had me on the ropes one time, yeah? But that feeling, yeah? That feeling that I had when he had me on the ropes, that wasn't a good feeling. So I had to come back hard, and they always talk about it, yeah? But having that feeling, because there's people that I know, that especially me and Johnny, we used to have them on the ropes all the time, every time, cussing them.
No.
Yeah, they come and venture into that domain, they knew what was happening, but we'd kick off, and there were certain people, like Mikkel now, I knew him from when he was 18, he's a big man now, he's 30 something, nearly 40. But he's got a real skill now of cussing because of us, yeah? But what did we develop? We developed a monster. You know what I mean? That's on edge now and ready to fight back. Yeah. Have black people got issues with shopping?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
We just spoke about that, spending our money in the trillions, and we've got nothing to show for it.
Go on.
What do you mean by issues? Can we define issues?
Yeah, they like to shop a lot at their own expense.
Oh, is that it?
Well, you could go in lots of different directions, but we'll be here all day.
I mean, I don't think it's just black people.
No, what we're dealing with black people.
Oh, sorry.
All right, do black people judge other black people based on stereotypes? I think so.
Yeah.
Black man's time or whatever, black people's time, people talk that.
That's crazy.
And if you cuss, you come from the fish market.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Is that one? Where did it come from?
No, I was going to say about like the black angry woman.
Yeah, black angry woman. And also the expectation of black males being ultra sexual.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's a thing in people's minds. Like, all right, black men are supposed to be a certain way. You know what I mean? Or black women are supposed to be a certain way as well. Do black people have problems sticking together?
I believe so. Nowadays. Yeah.
I think we stick together.
No, we don't.
We don't.
No.
No, we don't.
Look, we're here.
Yeah, five of us.
No.
5 of us sticking together. I think there's an idea that we do in a certain way. So how do black people stick together? Alright, I went to Jodeci concert yesterday. How much black people was there? When there's a lot of food somewhere, how much black people was there? Like, there's an idea based on something specific that gets black people together, but it's nothing productive.
No.
And I was just about to say that, I mentioned it last time, if we was to establish and say, that we're having a dance in here.
Oh,
right?
yeah,
And we're
yeah,
gonna do this
yeah.
and that.
Look.
Place ram out with free food,
Yeah.
Look.
music. You might
Yeah.
even get to see a screen to watch the boxing or whatever was gonna go
Alright,
that night.
you'd only have to say
Right.
one thing.
Right?
3 patties.
Right.
Let me
Yeah,
hear.
yeah,
And then if you
yeah,
say to them
yeah,
after
yeah.
that now, but hold on, we're gonna do Black History.
Look,
Crickets.
do you know how much people I invite here? Even invite on Pauline. Invite my friends. Call it Black History. Yeah. It's like weighing them down. I don't know what's going on, you know. And if I said to Pauline now, we having this party here, this whatever.
Here.
You know,
You could have a breakfast. All you've got
Yeah.
to do is put on a breakfast.
Yeah.
It'd be full.
Yeah.
Hey, do you know
Put
what?
on a breakfast and lock the door.
No, but I'm glad you said that because you know I reckon it's those things that we would have to do to draw them in.
Mm.
Because you know what, in real time, the other day I must have said to this is a friend of mine. I said, "Oh, what are you doing on the weekend?" I said, "Oh, you know, my daughter's doing this and that." I got quite like before I go for my daughter, I'm gonna come here and then I said to him, "Oh, you should come down." And the man tried to be like, "Oh yeah, the Black History thing." And I just said, as soon as he said that, he heard my voice switch, and I just said to him, "What?" Like. Yeah, but bro, I come down and support your. And I'm saying about the music thing, but that's you see the music thing again. It's a form of entertainment.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
they want to be entertained. I said that's why I said, bro, you're doing some backwards movements. Bro.
Entertain
And
or fed.
I go, this isn't my thing, but I'm a part of it. You should just come. But then that's when I just said, I actually don't come. Don't worry about it. But that's what I mean by sticking together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The entertainment, the eating food, the busting to joke, and yeah, you want to be entertaining, key. But when it comes to the real movements of putting the boots on the floor and getting things moving, everybody's waiting for somebody else to do it so they can enjoy the finishing line.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah, but then when you look at it, why people don't come to this session, it's still traumatized for them to go back, or I don't know, of the past.
Yeah, for some people it is. I know a lot of people that don't like my talk when it comes to Black History.
Yeah.
You know, but you can be traumatized all day, my friends. Yeah. You not facing it full on to a certain extent. What's that saying about you?
Yeah.
You know, you come into Black History served me in 2 ways. One, for me to sort of solidify my identity in some sort of sense, but also as a weapon against white racists. Anyone racist that wants to talk shit to me about anything, I've got some ammo for you. I don't need to get angry and mad. I don't need to think about putting my hands up to you. I'll tell you about some history, whether it's about 1903 and Cheddar Gorge and them finding the oldest black bones over here, or whatever else about our history and how we developed humankind. I can tell you some shit. But what do you want to do? How do you want to educate your children? Have them non-educated. So even their black identity as black children, you're still, half of you still, or even more than that, 45% of you still, 45%, 75% of you still mainly white, immersed in colonialism, neo-colonialism.
Yeah.
There's a load of kids out there know fuck all, sorry I'm on camera, they know fuck all about their history. They don't know anything. You'd rather know about the Stuarts, the Victorian era, the Edwardian era, World War One and World War Two, the Holocaust, Henry VIII, Anne Boleyn, Catherine of Aragon, Wat Tyler, the 100-Year War. You could name all that stuff off, but you can't tell me what one of the first civilizations from Africa was.
See, that's why I remember I said, I don't know if you remember when I said there's a word that always comes to me, and the word comes to me for all of this, yeah? The only word that I use when it comes to anything is accountability. What are you doing? Yeah, like, we look at all those great black musicians who spoke up and they you know, Public Enemy, Dead Prez, all of these people that sold a lot of music. Who really was buying the music? Do you see what I'm trying to say? You had a lot of the other colours buying the music into the black music movement, into the trying to understand, into the political ideas. Then you got a lot of black people that would rather bootleg it or I'm not going to go there, I'm not going to support that. So again, the accountability always lies within us.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
Last bit, we said that, is tough parenting good for black children?
That depends, I reckon.
Yeah, dependent, yeah.
What? Because like,
What
if
do
you're
you
dealing
define
with
as
the
tough?
whooping and all of that.
Licks. Is
No.
licks good for black children?
Nah.
No,
No, I don't think
you
so.
can be tough without having to hit your children.
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I
tough,
mean,
yeah.
I
No,
won't,
because every
I,
child's different.
yeah, but I won't hit my kids. I
Yeah.
won't take on board the slave masters' practices.
Mm.
Yeah, that they taught us to do, and they don't beat their kids because of white privilege.
So I remember when Che was a baby, that's my first nephew, and he was a baby, and he went and he put his hands on the plug, the socket, and I did that. Che wasn't a child that we beat, because he don't. Even when your face turns serious, he's in tears, right? So he, you know, and that's really been it. Oh, apart from the Timberland store where I had to beat him, but he had on a puffer coat, and that was a
Well, I had to
dinner.
beat him, you know.
I was like, listen, my hand was just bouncing off the coat, and it didn't do nothing.
I think it's pointless. I used to get licks all day, every day when I was little, but I got to a point where it didn't affect me. I was still going to do what I wanted to do because I knew, all right, I'll take it when I get in. Do you know what I mean? I'll stay out late, I'm going to get licks. I'll still go and have a good time. It becomes pointless. Yeah.
And it's, to me, sorry, I just see it as a language as well.
Yeah.
You know, like a lot of the language
Yeah.
is, like if you do something, I'm gonna clap you up. Like that's
Yeah.
what it was for me.
Yeah, and it's a strange message.
Yeah.
So why are you going to be a big adult beating a little kid? Because if a big adult was beating your little kid, you go
Oh,
mad.
yeah, it's mad.
So why are you beating your own little kid like it's an adult? You know, it's a mad form of child abuse. Like, you know, there's not one person I know around my age or a little bit younger that hasn't gone through some serious licks that was on abusive level. I had licks that really I shouldn't have had. You know, let alone people like Prince, who him and his family, they used to get battered, bloody battered.
Not only licks, I didn't get licks, but what I got was the mentally abused. You're not good enough.
Yeah.
You know this, you're gonna do this, you know, you're gonna become an alcoholic if I ever do drink. Or my brother, all I could hear on the phone, yes, Gary is a student, and I'm thinking, well, okay. You know, you're hearing your sibling is better than you and all these things. That's mentally torture, same as licks, you know.
Hey, my mum, imagine it was just me and my mum in the yard. I'd get her upset. She wouldn't talk to me in the yard for 2 weeks. So
Yeah.
imagine I come home from, it was magic. I come home from school, you right, mum? Not a fucking word. Like, what? The whole day will go. I get up in the morning to go to school, my mate talking to me, come home from school. Like 2 weeks, my mum's not saying fuck all to me.
Yeah.
Like, you're going mad in the yard, you know, like
this, yeah.
what's going on here?
Wait, you got to say that.
Oh, sorry, no, I was going to say, so yeah, we didn't really get beat. We didn't. But my mum used to discipline us just from like looking at us. So she could communicate, you need to sit down, or you need to whatever. And we didn't go through the stuff that like other people went through. She definitely verbalized what she wanted done, etc. But yeah, I think it's important for a child to know that you're serious, that you're a serious parent, because I think that what you see with parents generally is that the child doesn't take the parent seriously. That, you know, it's like, oh, you're not going to do nothing. I'm not saying that the parent should come in and beat the child with a stick. I'm not saying that. But I think as a parent, you should be quite serious and you should be able to...
Yeah, it hasn't been done early enough. That's what I mean?
Exactly.
When they start leaving it late, they're wondering what's going on when they ain't listening. You should have done that from day
I
one.
mean,
100%.
I agree with that because I've done that and I realise, boy, you can't change it now. It's too late.
Because it went on too long and then you try to discipline them.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, the other thing that I think is also important, I think that when you spend time with the child and you're doing work with them, you're playing with them, all of that, when you have to discipline them, because you've developed that relationship with them, they're more likely to listen to you because it's not like your
Yes,
only
no
interaction with
boundaries.
them is to discipline them. Your
Yeah,
interaction with them is to
yeah.
feed them, to play with them, etc., etc. So you have that balance.
Last bit. Do black boys become feminised when raised solely by their mothers?
Yes.
Oh yeah, I think they all pick up. It's only right. They don't have to pick up certain qualities. So you need the balance, innit? You do need the
I'd
balance.
like to say no.
Alright, why not?
Well, I said yeah.
I said I'd like to say no.
Oh.
Oh!
You know what I mean? And even though I see myself a certain way, just being brought up by my mum, I still understand and recognise what I didn't get. You know what I mean?
But I think you put your space in. You put yourself in a lot of male spaces.
I did,
You see what I mean?
I did just to sort of
Yeah.
provide me with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I've recognised the girliness in me and tried to get rid of that as well. You know, because you know, like when I was young, like for me, there was a sulky way I had sometimes. I'm not saying it's girly, but it wasn't manly. When I was young, I was like, huh? But as I grew up, I thought, oh, like, I need to eradicate that bit and whatever other bit, like just to have. I mean, it was different in my day. The image, like you would have seen on TV, what was portrayed of a man was manly shit. He smoked a fag, he went on a certain way. It's not this trivial standard now. He then they what are you talking about? Like, so you had to be a certain way, and for me not to have that influence in regards to a brother, an uncle, a dad, or whatever, I had to get that from people. I had to get that from the people around me. And how better to get that than hang out with some people that ain't doing too good either. You know what I mean? Has behaviour of black people been modified by the colonial machine?
Yes.
I think so in all different ways. What steps can black people take to improve their situation as a community?
I'll go back to my word, man, accountability. You have to be accountable. No one's coming to save us, no one's going to champion us, no one's doing nothing for us. It has to be biased. And if it's not going to be biased, then we're just going to, you might as well just sit down and take it, then, isn't it? So.
Take it. Bend over.
I feel just like I agree with the accountability. I think that what happens with black people is they stick their head in the sand going through life. Like if anything's like a bit, they stick their head in the sand. They're not really willing to kind of step up and face things. And I think that's essentially that's like the problem.
I think a lot of this anyway, like when you look at transgenerational trauma or post-traumatic slave syndrome, or you look at epigenetic studies like the Dutch hunger winter and that Swedish study called the Keelig study of 2002, where they found that even what the grandfather ate had an impact on the grandchildren. So epigenetic studies, and there's a mouse study as well that changing their coat colours, how things are passed down. All these things for me, whether it's the killing of black people, whether it's the cussing or the parents cussing, just like I said before on the slave plantation, you had to cuss your child to save them from the slave master. Oh, little Tommy looks nice. Yeah? No, massa. He's done with shit. You know what I mean? So you had to cuss your kids to keep them safe. There are certain things that have been passed down for our ability for us to have to adapt to the environment to survive. That's prevalent today in our behaviours. So whether it's cussing the kids, or whether it's the stereotypes that we have, or whether it's the issues with colorism, a lot of this stuff we're existing with and still demonstrating it in our, it's like the broken families. How can you have families that have been ripped apart consistently for hundreds of years and not still have residue fallout from it in 2026 onwards?
I was just going to say, you know that whole thing about what steps can black people do to improve their situation as a community?
Yeah.
Now, is there an argument that says if you remove yourself from certain environments, you can then shape and preserve your family so that you can improve them? And the reason I say that is we left Barbados when I was 4, 5. When I go back to Barbados I go back to Barbados kind of life in Barbados and how people are, I think to myself, if I had grown up here, what kind of person would I have been? You know, like, would I have been kind of affected by the behaviours that I think are dysfunctional, the way that Bajans are? You know, but because I grew up here and I was away from all of that, Mummy could kind of raise us how she wanted. And then we had the external influences that were, it was a different way of being, you know?
Yeah, that's right.
Different outlook, etc. You know, all of them things. So I'm just wondering if maybe sometimes you do need to extricate yourself from the community to create your family and then be able to interact with them again. Because you're coming with whole different ideas, etc. and behaviours.
Yeah, we got to Barbados regular, we've got friends over there.
You do?
Yeah.
Which one?
Kara's downstairs in Paxton.
Where?
But
I was there.
He wants to speak to me, so
All right,
I'll speak to you in a minute.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
sorry,
I was
Nev.
thinking-
No, it's finished.
Sorry. Bye, guys.
Bye.
See
Take
you
care.
next
Bye.
week. Bye, Jim.
Yeah.